Well, I guess it's time that we take a perfectly good guitar and start cutting it up. So this guitar is going to be given away at 50,000 subscribers. We're actually giving away 2 guitars. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. So you can be part of that, and in the next few weeks we're going to talk about how you can enter to win it, etc. This is, I don't know what year it is, but it is an Epiphone Les Paul Standard. Really, really nice, really great guitar. You've heard it in all of our string videos. Really cool guitar, really nice. We're going to talk about the changes that we're going to make to this thing, some upgrades that we're going to do to it before we give it to one of you. So first of all, let's get the strings off of it, and we're going to pull the pickups out, we're going to pull all the pots out, and we're basically going to start the wiring process from scratch with this thing. Alright, let's flip it over. Tell you what, let's get another camera. Alright, let's get the back of this thing off and see what's in here. I kind of know already. But Epiphone stuff changes a lot. So let's find out. Alright, so looks like we have the normal Epiphone Les Paul stuff. We've got the plastic little buckle for the switch going up to the other end of the guitar. Yeah, we'll take all this stuff out. Those look like Alpha 500K pots, which those are actually not bad pots, but I like the taper that I'm going to use better, so we will use those instead. So we'll go ahead. I'll tell you what, let's just get savage. It's all coming out. The only thing I don't really want to cut is the cable to the switch. At least not yet. Yep. We don't care about any of this other stuff. It's all coming out. And let's see. Let's take that to, that goes to the output jack, that goes to the switch. Alright. Let's flip this baby over and take these pickups out. Now that we've got everything unhooked. Don't try that at home. Get one of these right here. I'll leave a link to it in the description. It's the best way to take knobs off. That's just a little trick that I have used in the past, and it worked this time. Stripped down and ready to go. Let's throw the tailpiece back on. I love this captive tailpiece that this Epiphone has, so it won't fall off while we have it in storage, because this guitar will be out of the way. I guess now it would be kind of fun to take apart these pickups so we can talk about one of the things, or a few of the things, that the differences between good pickups, quote unquote good pickups, and cheap pickups that come in most of your store-bought guitars. And I'll show you, I'll move the close-up camera here in a minute, and I'll show you some things as we rip these apart. And we'll talk about some quality differences between cheap pickups and expensive pickups, and what potentially that creates the difference in the tone of the guitar, etc. Okay, so the biggest kind of thing that comes up a lot of times is what's the difference between cheap pickups and good pickups. So if we just look at the outside of the pickup, which most of you will probably be able to do, like let's say you have a drawer full of pickups and you're just trying to decide whether you're going to use something or not. Obviously, if it sounds good in your guitar, it is good. So don't ever take anything that anybody says in a YouTube video and be like, well, my pickup has this, so it must be bad, so I need to get rid of it. Way too many people do that. If it sounds good, it is good. If you like how it sounds, then just play it that way. This Epiphone Les Paul sounded pretty good, and if it was good enough for you, then that's all that really matters. Now let's dive in a little bit and look at a couple of things that cheaper pickup builders do, and I'll explain to you this particular pickup builder. So this, I believe, is made by a company in called Artec, and they're in Korea, and they make most of the pickups for most of your anything from really cheap guitars up to, I don't know, $1,200 Korean stuff, you know. So it's all about the same. A dead giveaway is they're going to have their ROHS compliance sticker on the bottom. Epiphone pickups have always had these stickers on the bottom as well. And a dead giveaway that it is a cheaper pickup, unless it's a DiMarzio, we'll talk about that in a minute, is it has a brass base plate as opposed to a nickel one. And so brass is cheaper than nickel. What can happen is brass can induce eddy currents into a pickup. We have a whole nother video all about that. It's its own thing. But just to know, for this purposes of our conversation, that many cheaper pickups are going to have brass base plates. Now, let's go ahead. Actually, before we cut it up, let's measure it. All right. So this is a bridge pickup from a Les Paul standard Epiphone. And it is a 14K humbucker. And you're like, wow, that is hot. Well, that is because they have to wind in such a way to compensate for some of these cheaper parts that change the sound in ways that aren't normal. So now that we know that it's a 14K pickup, we're just going to rip it apart. Go ahead, get in the comments and say I could have given this to a charity or whatever. Sometimes you have to ruin stuff to learn stuff. Okay, the other thing about this cheaper pickup, yep, this is also a brass pickup cover as opposed to a nickel pickup cover. Again, same thing, eddy currents, cheaper materials, It is a nickel plated, but this is brass. This is not nickel. So cheaper materials again. Buy, and we define cheaper materials. This brass base plate and this brass, nickel plated brass cover probably cut the cost of these two parts in half, and these are the two most expensive parts in the pickup. Okay, just so you understand for a reference point. Now let's dig deeper and look at magnets. That is an Alnico magnet, actually. That is not a ceramic magnet. Sometimes you'll see a ceramic magnet in here, sometimes you'll see Alnico. Now that being said, not all Alnico magnets are created equal. It has been my experience that these cheaper pickups come with Alnico 5 magnets, but they aren't as strong as the stuff that we get and put in guitars. I'm just going to say it. Not as strong, for sure. All right. Now we'll get into maybe a couple of things that don't actually matter that much. The little plastic spacer that's in here, a lot of you vintage people will say this should be wood or maple or whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It will not affect the tone of the guitar at all. Let's see what else we got in here. Cut this apart. Of course, it's a 2-wire humbucker, so the center link is actually linked in the pickup. Alright, now let's rip apart a coil and see what wire's inside. That is single build poly on copper, which is normal. That's what we use on just about everything. Nothing wrong with that. Can't see the gauge though. And this appears to be 43 gauge wire and not 42. So what they've done here in this pickup, it looks like an Alnico magnet, but it has got a lot of 43 gauge wire on it to give you a 14K pickup. Why did they do that? Basically everything that goes into a pickup, the magnet, the base plate, not everything, but the magnet, the base plate, the cover, the wire diameter, and wind count are all interactive to one another. So if you need to save money in one area, that means you need to compensate for that saving of money to get a good sound in another area. And that is basically what happens in these cheaper pickups. When we design pickups from scratch, like we're designing for this guitar, we don't look at cost at all. Basically, I say I want it to sound a certain way. We're going to use this material, this wire, this magnet, this cover, and we're going to shoot for a sound. And if we don't like it, then we're going to compensate for that until we like it. And then we're going to look at the materials cost in the pickup, and then we're going to set the price for the pickup. Obviously, we're much lower volume, so if we sell 100 sets of pickups in a month, I don't know how many Epiphone sells in a month, but it's way more than that. So if they can save, for example, between these two parts, you know, $6 or $7 per pickup, times thousands, at scale, that makes a massive difference. These two parts of the pickup do affect the tone of the pickup depending on the material that they're made of. this is two areas where I will not compromise. Here and here, I will not compromise. We will play around with different types of wire. We will play around with different types of magnets. However, I will not compromise on the quality of the magnets. So I get really good magnets, but the type, just because it's ceramic doesn't make it bad, right? We actually have some really good ceramic designs. However, all of this stuff that's put together and how it works together is going to give you your overall tone of your pickup. So there you go. It's just basically one part of the pickup compensating for another part of the pickup to build it down to a price. Same thing with the pots and stuff. You know, we look at a guitar like this, and you know, alpha pots are pretty decent, but they also have a few different ranges of pots, right? These are the 7mm, the 7mm shafts, split shaft. These are okay, but they won't last a long time. These are already very corroded, and so that's why we're going to replace them. Wire material in a guitar doesn't matter at all whatsoever. A lot of people want to make a big deal out of plastic wire versus cloth versus braided versus all that stuff. That doesn't matter at all. So I wouldn't be scared to look in a guitar and say, oh, that's cheap looking wire, I need to rip that out of there. It doesn't have anything to do with the tone at all whatsoever. These little capacitors, let's see what capacitor this is. So this is a 0.022 microfarad capacitor, and it is a J tolerance, which is just fine. So actually that capacitor is probably just fine. If you replace this with an orange drop, it's really not going to sound any different, and you're just going to have spent money for nothing. So understanding how to read all this stuff and understanding what you're looking at here is important before you just go spending money on your guitar for no reason whatsoever. These pickups, this guitar is going to sound way better. The pots, they're going to last longer. The cap probably doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Overall, all in all, this whole upgrade that we're going to do to this guitar is going to change it a lot. Is it going to make it better? That's subjective, but it's going to change it, and we're going to have fun doing it. So next time we're going to put pickups in the guitar, we're going to replace pots, and hear what this thing sounds like. All right, so that project is well on its way. Geez, it's windy. We will go ahead and get some pickups built for that thing. We're going to do a very interesting new design. It's going to be a sort of like a wide range, but it's going to be kind of my own version of it, and I think you're going to dig it. I've done all the math on it. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So that's what's going to go in that guitar. We're going to call it the Slant 6 for guitar. It's a variation on the guitar that the pickups that we made for the Guns and Guitars build that we did with Dan Thompson. So it's going to be the 6-string version of that. So I think you're going to dig it very much. Make sure you check out our live FAQ Q&A deal on Thursday at 5 p.m. Also on our other channel, Music and Mascara, I'm doing the crazy ambitious thing of making a video every day this month, and we're doing a live on Music and Mascara on Sunday nights. So still trying to figure out a time for that, but hey man, all I know how to do is make YouTube videos and work on guitar stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. I guess now I'm gonna go play with my RC car, I think. Thanks a lot. You guys are awesome, and we will talk to you on Thursday or tomorrow morning if you watch the other video on the other channel.